absolute overhaul and in a way that places the burden where it belongs on those who have done extraordinarily well. Our banking industry needs further regulation. We need to return a Glass-Steagall and a differentiation of commercial and investment banks. We absolutely need to ask those who have done so well to pay their fair share and contribute, which is not being done. If we don't do that, we can't do all the other wonderful things the three of us are talking about, all of us want. And we dramatically need to change our campaign contribution laws. Dramatically.
Amen to that.
We need shorter campaigns. I think we'll agree to that. I gotta tell you, I feel a little bad for John Katko because I never thought about running for Congress till May. I was having a discussion with my wife and my son about what I'm going to do when I grow up. And it occurred to me after I decided in June that I would run, this poor guy has only been in office 5 months. We need 4-year terms for members of Congress. We need publicly financed campaigns. We need media that use the public airways to be required to take advertisements. And we need to get rid of Citizens United.
All right.
Well, I agree with everything that everybody else has said up here today, so there's no point in saying the exact same speech. But I will add my own things that I would like to work on when I am elected to Congress. I mentioned paid leave a minute ago, my own personal story of not having any health care or sick time for my job. I know what it's like for the many people who need a voice in Congress who are experiencing the same thing. I'd also like to add I wanted to do something about student loans and student loan debt. As somebody who just paid off their student loans in March, it was a burden I carried for 15 years, and I know how hard it can be when you, after college, there's limited job opportunities. And further, I would like to add that I think we need to do something about the student loan debt and the interest rate that our parents have. My mother jokes that she'll probably be dead before her student loans are paid off for her children, and I think she's probably right. These are things that we need to deal with. You can get a car, you can get a house at a lower interest rate than you can get a student loan for your child. So this is something that affects real people and something that I want to work on in Congress. I mentioned infrastructure earlier when I was giving my opening remarks. And I just want to add, I think this is something that terribly we need to focus on. We absolutely need to do a better job of focusing on our infrastructure. Not only will that attract businesses to this region and help bring jobs here, but it will also create jobs to do the work. So I think that is something that we absolutely need to have as the forefront when we're moving forward. And finally, education, I think, is a huge issue. Having a child in our education system and seeing what happens with the Common Core and the testing and everything that's been going on in our public schools for the past 5, 6, 7 years. I think we really need to take a strong look at education and being able to provide the resources for all of our children who deserve to get a good education. Thank you.
And since we've already talked about our famous friend John Katko, what I'd like to ask now is what kind of campaign strategy are you going to use when you run to defeat John Katko? And what is your best strength that will help get you elected?
Well, there's the news media here, so I don't know if I want to tell my campaign strategy. I'm kidding. I think, I think we can all agree here tonight that the inability for Congress to get anything done is a real problem, and John Katko is part of that problem. The House Republicans are the ones who are not voting on legislation to help grow jobs and help the economy, but they're voting to defund Planned Parenthood and repeal the Affordable Care Act and trying to get rid of health care for 19 million Americans. I'm a single mom. I have balanced a checkbook. I've raised a son and run a household and built my career in public service. I've worked directly with the people of this community, and I know what issues really matter to us here locally. I think through my experience growing up, my experience after college, I know what it's like for real people in central New York. I think with my work in the mayor's office and the work that I did in Senator Gillibrand's office, I've been working on the major issues of Central New York my entire career. And I think we need somebody in Congress who isn't just one of the same old that we've been electing year after year, but somebody who actually knows what it's like, what real Americans are going through, and can be a real voice for the people of Central New York and can get things done.
Eric?
Thank you. Strategy is to work hard, but it's also, I believe I'll win because I believe that we have tremendous need in this area. The strategy piece, we have a large older population, we have a large young population, we have people who understand that they need their Social Security and that their children need their Social Security and Medicare ultimately more than that. We understand that it's tiresome to hear the disrespect of talking about Social Security, Medicare as an entitlement, as if we didn't earn it. And it's also tiresome to think that when people fight for their Social Security and Medicare, that they also aren't fighting for their kids, because their kids need it more than others. So part of my strategy is going to be reaching out to an older population. 38% of our population is 55 and over in this district. Part of it is going to be to engage young people very heavily in our campaign. Young people need to be told and engaged in politics today, as ugly as it might be at times, as problematic as it is. If they aren't involved, we will not have a democracy for them to live. And part of my strategy is my grandson, Sammy. And you'll see him on my little card. I have my best gift I've ever been given. My daughter, Joanna, gave me a shirt a year ago which says, "I'm Sammy's grandfather, and I say hands off with Social Security." And she gave Sammy a onesie that says, "If you touch my Social Security, you have to answer to Grandpa." Now, that is a strength. A strength here is you're going to find I am who I am. I actually think we have 3 good candidates, and that's good. You're going to find that I'm not beholden to traditional Democrats. I am not beholden to financial interests, and I will be who I am and what I say.
I knew it was my new strategy, choke the opponent. All right, let's chat a little bit about how we're going to defeat John Katko. Now, Eric said John Katko is a nice guy, and quite frankly, he is. Our kids play soccer together. Okay, so what? We disagree completely on the issues of the day. So for those of us who are Democrats, it's very, very important that we win this seat in 2016, because you know the seat traditionally votes Democrat in a presidential year, but it swings the other way in an off year. So if we don't defeat him in 2016, he'll be safe in 2018, and he will be our congressman for the next 20 years. So this is our one and only opportunity to win. And we need to work hard, and we need to work together. Now, I'm going to take on John directly. I'm going to be very clear about the differences in our positions, and they are clear. And people are going to hear about them, and I think that will energize people, because I, quite frankly, don't think John Katko represents the middle and working class of this district. You know, he called Dan Maffei the Pac-Man. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Have you noticed how much PAC money John Katko has? Almost 70% of the cash he has is from banks and PACs and the NRA and a lot of other groups that don't have anything to do with this district. But I'm going to challenge him directly, and I think I'm equipped to do that, because I've been trying cases for 25 years. I'm a trial lawyer, I know how to take on fights, and I know how to win. And you know, there are a couple of things between John Katko and me that are different. I served in the military. He's never served in the military. I have experience in the private sector. I run a small business. I make payroll. He's never worked in the private sector. So not only do we disagree fundamentally on the issues, and I'm going to make that crystal clear, but I have more experience that's necessary to represent this district. Thank you.
what we're going to do now is give each candidate a 2-minute response time just to talk whatever you want to say, your last final 2 minutes with us. And so we will be starting with Eric this time.
Okay. Steve just mentioned that we have to defeat John Katko. It's absolutely correct, but we have to do something else too. We have to hold the district 2 years from now, or 3 years from now. This district is known as the biggest swing district, or one of the 10 most significant swing districts in the country. It's flip-flopped 4 times in the past 4 elections. I think I can win it, and I also think I have a plan to hold it. We have to have some of the Republican voting older people moving over to the Democratic side. We need to talk affirmatively about the system that is bipartisanly supported. We need to be really clear, we're not going to let it be cut, we're going to work to expand protection, and that we respect people. We're not going to play young against old. We're not going to play public employee workers against others. And I think that kind of message will energize and engage people, and we have to talk to the young people, as I've said, and build the base by bringing more young people in. Seniors are always voters. They always vote. Every time we take a senior from the Republican column, put them into the Democratic column, that's 2 votes. The one that would have been against me and the one that will be for me. So to build the base, we have to engage more people and be sure that we can build them and also engage them in policy. Also see, something else I want to do. I think the role of public service within Congress, as a congressional candidate, I think we all probably agree, constituent service is hugely important, and using the bully pulpit to engage people, to listen, to respond to people's needs is terribly important. So that's what I'll do. I will be very clear again. I will not take PAC money from corporations. I will not take PAC money from Wall Street. I would encourage everyone who runs as a Democrat to not do that, because if you take the money, it controls you ultimately.
Thank you. Is this our closing statement? Well, thank you, Nancy, so much for hosting us this evening. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. It's so wonderful to see a standing room only. It's so encouraging for this next election.
Can this gentleman just take off for a second?
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for coming. I'm glad I got something.
I don't want to diss any of the candidates.
He said it's getting hot in here. He's got a...
Well, I hope each of you got a chance to learn a little bit more about us tonight.
They almost knocked out somebody. I gotta go get fresh air quick.
Well, I hope each and every one of you got a chance to learn a little bit more about us tonight. And I hope you were able to be a little bit more informed about why this race in the 24th Congressional District is so important. You know, as I mentioned earlier, the inaction of Congress is a real problem, and John Katko is part of that problem. And we need to work to fight for jobs and the economy and infrastructure and education, and not focus on divisive social issues that do nothing to help real people of this district and of America. You know, I mentioned I'm a single mom, I've run a household, I've had a career, and I've worked really hard to get where I am today, but I also know how to get things done, and I want to be a real voice for real people and represent you in Congress. Thank you very much.
Okay, first of all, I had a note passed to me, and the words on this note says it pretty succinctly of what I would want to say. These 3 people are great. As a Democrat, I'm really proud of the caliber of these people.
Give him his last words.
And that's why I'm not running.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt.
I take it all back.
She likes everybody but me. Well, you know, of course, thank you, Nancy. We have some very, very important issues to address. You know, it's clear that corporate America is running America. We know that corporate profits are pumped into campaigns every year. They control elections, and they therefore control policy. And the Supreme Court's decision in Citizens United cemented that fact. We need to fight against it, even if it means amending the Constitution to say a corporation is not a person. We need to work together on that, folks, because if we don't, corporate America is going to continue to steal your vote. We need to work together on that. Now, as I mentioned, you know, I know what it's like to struggle. I've been there. And I've worked very, very hard to provide for myself, to pay back my loans, and to provide for my family. And thank the Lord, I've had some good luck and some good success. But I want to dedicate what's left of my life to advocating for this district. And I think that I have some life experiences that make me uniquely qualified. I've mentioned my military service, the fact that I'm an attorney, and the fact that I run a small business. These are things that John Katko doesn't have. And I think they make me uniquely qualified to fight for you folks. And I'd appreciate your support. Thank you.
All right, that was our first forum and our first blunder. Okay, as I was saying, we want to thank all three of you. We find you to be articulate, sharp, and we are excited about people who are stepping forward to represent us. And I think as an audience, we need to give them a round of applause. We see you again. And on behalf of the Democratic Committee, I want to say thank you to all of you for coming, for being invested in this, and for coming forward. We have a long road ahead of us. We have till November. So, but please get involved in your local committees, get involved in your state, get involved in your federal elections. Okay, it's really important. Thank you all. Have a great evening. Go Dems!